Because I think if you don't have that structure, then the CPA exam just becomes this big monstrous thing that like you're just like, why am I not getting this? I'm putting like months on end like of preparation, and
Mhm.
my results aren't coming out, and it just becomes something that you over time start to either resent, or like you just feel like it's something that you can't overcome. But to your point, if
Right.
you have structure and discipline, and if you do little by little, it gives you the results that you're looking for. It gets you to
Yeah.
the finish line, in other words.
Welcome to another episode of the CPA Exam Experience Podcast from SuperfastCPA. I'm Logan, and in today's episode, you're going to hear me talking with Elias. I really liked talking with Elias. He had a lot of great tips and a pretty cool story. Now, Elias is someone who had grown up around accounting. His dad was an accountant, and his dad encouraged him and his sister to become CPAs. So it was something that he kind of was always aware of and that he wanted to get done. But he tried after he got his bachelor's and kind of just kept putting it off because of work. And then he tried to buckle down a little bit later, and it just wasn't working. He was really struggling, and he would go to the library in the evening. He had a class that he had been doing from 6 to 9, and then he switched from doing that class once it was over to studying for the CPA from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the library. And he was so tired that he would frequently fall asleep and not really get any studying done, and it was just a big struggle. And then he ran into SuperfastCPA. And one of the biggest changes that he had from SuperfastCPA was studying in the mornings. Instead of staying up till 1 in the morning after trying to study from 6 to 9 at the library, he would go to bed earlier so that he could wake up a little bit earlier and study before he had work and other obligations. And it made a huge difference for him. And another thing that really changed the process was the questions first approach. He was someone who really wanted to watch the lectures. He felt like it was wrong to not watch the lectures, and that was something he struggled with at first, but as time went on, he noticed the difference that it made to focus on the questions, because that was what he was going to be doing on exam day. So that's what he focused on, and he saw a big difference in his understanding and how it increased with going to the questions first. And he still sometimes would watch the lectures, but he went in with the idea of what he wanted to know because he had done the questions first. And you'll hear lots of great tips and ideas like that throughout this interview with Elias. So let's jump into that in just a second here. Just before we jump into the episode, I just want to give one more reminder about our Superfast CPA training webinar on SuperfastCPA.com. That is a free 1-hour webinar where we will teach you the key ingredients to passing the CPA exam so you don't waste months or even years of your time failing exams. And after you watch that, you're going to want to learn more. So make sure you also check out buying our study materials or becoming a pro member, or of course, getting the total bundle where you get all of our resources. Now, with all that said, let's dive into the episode with Elias. All right, thanks for getting on the call today with me, Elias. I'm excited to be talking to you. How are you doing today?
Doing well, Logan. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and it's not too early in the morning for you, is that right?
Yeah, it's not too early. It's actually 10
That's
a.m.,
good.
so it's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, not too bad. All right. So yeah, I'm excited to get on the call with you today. And if I'm not wrong, you kind of reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'd love to share my story." So I think this is going to be great. Let's just kind of dive in like we always do. Where were you in your career or in your life when you decided to go for the CPA? Like, what made you want to do that?
Initially, like the first time, or
Yeah, like where, like, I guess what's your journey before you kind of got to Superfast CPA?
oh, sounds good. Yeah. So my journey is actually starts back to like when I just finished my bachelor's. My dad is an accountant as well. So he always like motivated me and my sister to like pursue the CPA. So like around I graduated in 2012. That's when I finished my bachelor's. So in 2013, that's when I started studying for the CPA. So I tried, I sat, I think once, and because of like work commitments and all these things, it's just something that kind of fell by the side. And I tried again in 2020 after I did my MBA. And it was also just work commitments, and like life just gets in the way. And then finally, I just said, in 2025, like January, just said, I have to try one last time. So, and that's a bit, in a nutshell, that's like a little bit of my CPA journey. That it's been like
Okay.
one of those
It's
journeys.
been
It's like,
a little, yeah, it's been kind of a long journey, but like kind of off and on.
yeah,
So just to make sure I'm getting you there. So you knew about the CPA pretty early on, of course, because of your
yes,
dad.
yeah.
He was pushing you. But work commitments and things like that got in the way over the years. So I'm curious, before you kind of got got serious and sat down for it in January 2025. What were you doing when you were studying before that? Were you doing the traditional method, or what did that look like?
Sure. No, when I look back after having used SuperFast CPA, I think it really was not a great approach. So what I was doing is I bought like a Wiley at the time,
Yeah.
right? And I had like their textbooks and all. I even had like Roger CPA at one point. So what I was doing is I would go through like some of the chapters, right? And I would then at the time I think like I would use like the manual questions that they had in the printed book.
Right.
And try to do those questions after work. And of course, when you study after work, you're really tired and you're not gonna get much there. But yeah, essentially, I was really just using the textbooks, but like in reading through the chapters and then going through the questions and and then trying to get ready for the exam.
Right. So kind of the pretty typical approach, doing the lectures, especially the textbook, and then trying to do the questions, but it just wasn't really effective. Did you say that you did sit for the exam at one point? Is that right?
Yeah, I did. I sat for, I think, Reg in 2013, and then I also sat for audit in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did those go?
Oh,
do you remember?
In terms of the time I put in and the results, yeah, they were not good.
Yeah.
I think I got like a 58 in Reg and a 60 in audit, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, not too horrible, but for the time and effort that you probably put in, just not worth it. Yeah. So let's now fast forward to January 2025. Sure. What changed? Like, did you find SuperFast CPA, or was there something else in your life that was like, I've got to get this done?
So in terms of like how I just really committed to like studying for the CPA, I just felt like it was the one place in my life that I felt like, man, I really haven't fulfilled my potential. Like I felt like I had a lot of potential, and I could, if I really put my mind to it, I could sit down and get it done. So I just, of course, like people encouraged me over the years, and it was just like a time where I just thought, man, this is the one thing that I feel like has eluded me, and I can't figure out why that's the case, So that was kind of like the impetus or the thought behind like retrying it for the last time,
That makes sense. Yeah, it was kind of just like this is the one thing that I just have got to get done. Yep. So I think a lot of people get to that point. They've been trying for years, and then something just clicks or changes, and they're like, no, I've got to get this done.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so at that point, I guess when did SuperFast CPA come into the picture? Was it in January, or was it a little bit after that?
It was a little bit after that. So essentially, like in a nutshell, what I did in January is one of the things that I thought about is like, when I did the MBA and other programs, I had like a structure. And like one thing that I identified with the CPA, like every time I studied, I didn't really have a structure outside of myself. So I was looking for like a cohort-based class, So I found one of those cohort-based classes for FAR, and I actually took that from January through April. So I sat for FAR in April. I didn't do well. I had some issues with the testing center, but essentially what happened is like when I gave them my work papers, they I don't know if they threw them out, but I didn't write my login. So I needed my login to get to like the second part of the exam, and now they're like, they're panicking because they can't find the papers, and I had to run to my car. I come back and I wasted a lot of time, So anyway, like it was a really hard exam. It was a really terrible experience. So I say all this to say that I was so upset when I was in the car. I was like looking for retake videos, and I remember seeing Nate's video because I remember like seeing the ads, and I would always just fast forward them, I'd always skip them, much like I would do with like Roger CPA or the other like reviews. Like I would just skip them because I already had a review. So I saw Nate's video on retakes and I watched it, and I really liked that video because he was just saying, hey, study in the morning, do 2 sets of 30 MCQs and some TBSs and flashcards, and like it was a short video, but. So I took all that advice and for my retake. And long story short, I didn't pass on the retake, but my score went up by 30%. And for me, I said, there's something to this SuperFast. There's something here. So that's what motivated me to then go and buy the pro course.
Right.
That's how I was introduced to SuperFast.
That's kind of how you got there. So you had seen the ads, but it always skipped them. But then with that terrible experience in the testing center, you're like, you immediately. So you were doing it in the car after the test,
Yeah, I
after the
was.
test. Is that right?
But I was.
You're like, I know I'm gonna fail that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
All right. And so, and just curious, I would like to just hear a little bit
sure,
about the thing you were doing before, like the
sure.
January to April. What was that? Were you working with other
So
candidates, or how does that work?
yeah, so I found one like an instructor, and he
Oh, I
teaches
see. Okay.
all four parts. But then the great thing also was that he actually had more students in the class, so it was really like you're sitting in a class, but it's really tailor made to like the CPA exam. So he teaches all four
Right.
parts. I just took him for far, which was really great because I needed like that foundation and all those things. But yeah, like
Right.
he was like
Okay.
an instructor.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. So now you get the pro course, and did you just buy the pro course, or did you also buy the study materials as well,
I bought the
like the mini quizzes and the audio
yeah,
notes?
yeah. I bought everything like the mini quizzes,
Okay,
audio
sweet.
notes, and then of course like
And the pro course.
and the pro course. Yeah.
Okay, so you got the total bundle. So you get that, and what was the contrast? So, compare how you had been studying before to you watched the pro course.
Sure.
What were the light bulbs that came on in your
Oh,
your
sure.
head?
Yeah, it was a night and day difference because like the way I studied is I initially before Superfast I took the cadence of my class because my class was like from 6 to 9. So I just took the same cadence,
Mhm.
right? And I said, hey, like I don't have class anymore, so let me just study 6 to 9. I would go to the library, be there 6 to 9, and over time, like I would be there six to nine after work. But then sometimes you'd be too tired, and
Mhm.
you doze off a little bit in the library, and
Yes.
then you wake up, and then you're like, all right, let me just do a half an hour. So before Superfast, I think it was really I was focusing so much on the quantity of my studying, right?
Right.
But
Mhm.
when I now started using Superfast, like the total bundle package, right? I really looked at those initial videos that Nate did, where he's just talking about like how you use Superfast, how do you study, those things. So I switched from studying in the evening to studying in the morning. I used to sleep really late, so I sleep at 1, but then now I started sleeping at 11, so I could get up at 7, right? So 7 to 9, that was my study time. 7 to 9, I would study, and then I would do like some mini quizzes, and then I would try to do some audio notes throughout the week.
Throughout the day.
But yeah, it was a
Okay.
night and day difference. Night and day difference, definitely.
And I mean, I think that's something that a lot of people pick up, is that studying in the morning. It just makes a huge difference, because then you go from being super tired already because you had a full day of work,
Yeah.
and then you're going to bed super late, like you were saying,
Yeah.
to you just have it done right at the start of the day.
Exactly.
And did you notice that alone kind of like helped the process? Like, did that alone help, even besides how to study?
I think it really did. In the time I didn't see it when I was taking the first when I was taking ISC, because that was my first section that I passed. I didn't see it up until
Okay.
I passed. That's when I kind of saw like the compounding like results of all those
Right.
little changes. But it did. And one of the things that it helped me was that it worked, right? Like during busy season, or even like in a regular like non-busy season. Sometimes like you may just get like a late assignment. You get it at 5 o'clock, and if you're gonna study at 6, you might as well just not study that whole night.
Yeah.
Like so
Mhm.
it really helped in that sense. That like you guys always say that when you do it in the morning, you're locked in and you have it. No matter whatever the day
Yep,
brings,
it's
you
done.
already have it.
Yep, it's done before all the many other things that you have to do.
Exactly.
And so, and what else stuck out to you about the pro course as far as like how to study? Did you kind of switch to the questions first approach?
I did. I did, and I started that when I was doing FAR. When I was doing ISC, I was mostly just doing a lot of lectures. So I was
Okay.
watching a lot of lectures, but I was using the audio notes and I was using the mini quizzes. And that really gave me great results. So FAR was easier for me because I had already done FAR, so it was easier to then
Right.
just do the question first approach and just kind of like really. Because when you're hearing it, man, it just you're like, I don't know if I can do that, because I love lectures, so I'm like, I don't know if I can just go in on the questions, but it works, it works, and it gives you results, so I did start using it for far, like long story short, yeah, I did start using it for far, and
From then
I
on.
saw the results.
That's pretty funny. So you're sounds like you're the kind of person who typically would want to watch the lecture,
Yep.
read the textbook, and things like that. But why do you think you saw such a difference when you switched to mainly the questions?
Oh man, I think it's just like it reminds me a little bit of that whole the thing that it was talking about when he was sharing about like that book Atomic Habits, right? Like,
Yeah.
and like like when they in that first chapter when they talk about like how the British cycling team for 100 years they had just really struggled, and they brought in somebody new to manage the team, and they just started bringing in like little changes, right? Like incremental
Hmm.
changes. So I think from that perspective, like it really helped me at least to kind of get into the material, right? And I struggled like with that approach initially until I heard they say, hey, like you don't get tested on how well you watch the lectures. You get tested
Yeah.
on how well you answer the questions. And then like I accepted it at that point. But I think it really helped that one get in the material in the way that I'm going to be tested, and then two, even if I'm in the material, I'm really not understanding it. I'm able to when I do go to the lectures for that specific section. As I'm listening, I already know how they're gonna ask the question, so I can kind of listen in a way that's more active rather than like
Right.
passively listening to the lectures and not knowing, hey,
Yeah.
how are they gonna ask the questions,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that I love what you said there because we don't say never watch lectures. I mean, a lot of people don't, but what we're really saying is the questions should be your main priority,
Right.
and then that makes it like you said, where if you do need to go watch a lecture because you're just not getting it,
Yeah.
you go in with something already specific in your mind. You already know kind of what you're looking for instead of watching the lecture first and having no idea what
Right.
is important and what isn't important. So I really like that you said that. And so you switched to studying in the mornings. You're doing the 2 hours. Were you also doing the 30-minute review every day?
Yes, I was. Yeah, I was. So I would do like that, hour and a half of the new material, like a new topic,
Right.
and then definitely I would as best as I could. I mean, I didn't do it consistently, but definitely like towards like as the closer I get to the exam and to like the final review,
Right.
I really had to tighten up and button down and like really just get that done consistently.
Yeah, and yeah, the review is another big key part of it. So you'd get the mornings done, and then I'd love to know how the rest of your day was because you kind of mentioned mini quizzes, audio notes. What did the rest of your day like? Just kind of describe to me a typical day after you do your 2 hour morning session. How did you fit in the mini sessions?
Sure. So what I tried to do is like, so I would just wake up and study 7 to 9, and then 9 I start work, right? 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 sometimes. So what I tried to do is like anytime that I find like as I'm doing work, I would just do like I'll try to do like one or two mini quizzes like before lunch, and then do the rest like before 5 p.m. And so, give or take. But then one of the things that I also try to do is like, if I'm like what you guys always recommended, right? If I'm at the supermarket or if I'm somewhere and I'm just waiting in line, right? I would then try I would just take out my phone and just do like a couple of quizzes,
Right.
I definitely can say like, my Walmart, like where I live is like so busy, like, so the lines are so long. I would get like 6 or 7 of those mini quizzes done before I got to the
In
till,
just one line. That's
Yeah.
great. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And am I right? Do you work from home most of the time? Do you work
Yes.
remotely?
Yeah.
Okay,
I work
because
remotely.
I was noticing you said 7 to 9, and then you start work right at 9, so you don't have a commute.
Yep.
So how did you fit in audio notes without a commute? Because usually that's the easiest time for people to do that.
Yeah.
So how did you do those?
So for the audio notes, I realized like that like whenever I'm doing like mundane tasks, like getting ready in the morning, taking a shower, getting
Mhm.
dressed and stuff, that's a good time to fit that in. That's a good half an hour, 40 minutes, right? And when I'm doing the dishes, and then also when I go to the gym, when I'm on the treadmill, so it's a good half an hour to put that in. So I try to find like these mundane tasks where, like when you're doing like your mundane regular tasks to just fit it in there, as opposed to like saying, oh man, let me do this at 8 p.m. Whereas you
Yep.
could be just taking the evening off, as you guys usually recommend.
Yep, I love that. Yeah, I mean, the audio notes, if you're conscious about the typical times that you would maybe be listening to music or an audiobook or a podcast, just replace all of those with listen to the audio
Yeah.
notes, and you can fit in quite a bit throughout the day. I did the same thing where I would do it while I was doing the
Yeah.
dishes, while maybe when I went on a walk, or just you can find lots of different times when you're doing, like you said, mundane tasks that it's easy to listen to the audios at that point. So I really like that.
Definitely, definitely.
And did you use the review notes very much, or was it mainly audio notes and mini quizzes?
No, I use review notes. I would print them out like one unit at a time. So then I would like just before I go to bed, I would like read the next section of what I'm gonna do in the morning.
Nice.
So then I would just it really helped me because like one of the reasons why I was leaning and like initially struggling to like let go of the lectures, not necessarily like let them go completely, but like really let them go in a sense that I can do questions first, is because I yeah, I'm looking up because that's where I have my notes on my shelf. But
No,
essentially,
no
it was
worries. No worries.
I had to really when I look at the notes, when I looked at like it further, I then realized that oh wait, like I can use this like as a primer, right? I can use this as a way to just kind of
Mhm.
get introduced to like the new topic that I'm gonna go into. So that's when I started doing that. It was much easier to kind of like embrace the question first approach. It
That's
made it
yeah,
much easier.
yeah. For anybody listening, I want you all to listen to Elias there. Yeah, that's exactly what we recommend that people do is read the Superfast CPA review notes for this section that you're about to study. You can do it either, like you said, in the evening,
Yeah.
the day before, or you could do it like just a couple minutes before you start studying. But it really helps you know, kind of just be comfortable with what you're about to see in the questions. Like it's not going to like tell you everything, but you're at least going to be like, okay, I know generally what I'm looking for, so you don't feel so lost or worried going into doing the questions, because like you said, you're like, how am I not going to watch the lectures? But
Yeah.
that kind of seems like it was the replacement. Is that right?
Exactly. It was a really
Okay.
great replacement. Yeah.
Okay. And so, we've talked about kind of how you did your process and things like that, and we'll talk a bit more about it.
Sure.
But what happened? So you started doing Superfast CPA. I think you mentioned that you passed ISC.
Yeah.
How did that go?
Oh man, like when I took ISC, I started studying for it right after I had sat for my second retake for FAR. So, and while I was studying for ISC, I then got the results and I didn't do well on FAR. So, I just put in my mind that, I'm just gonna take ISC and so I use like the super fast up resources, right? Like the audio notes,
Right.
the regular notes, right? I printed them out, and I also used the mini quizzes. At the time, I wasn't quite using like the study strategies as I was using some, but not all. But
Right.
yeah, so I think it was really the first when I got the results, man. I was shocked, because I was, like I was really shocked, But I think for me, it was really like another thing that kind of cemented that this approach really works, like I was saying
Right.
before, like when I did my second retake, when I was using the super fast method, I saw the results, and I realized that, what, like this is working, but when I passed the first section, that was really the first time that I was like, yeah, this is really working.
And do you remember what you scored for ISC?
Yeah, I got an 83. I got an
Oh,
83.
hey, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's good. It's yeah, you didn't just barely pass. You got a pretty good score. So it definitely obviously something was working there. And so once you saw that result where you're like, okay, this is working, how did the rest of the exams go?
Yeah, no, like that exam was, I'm telling you, it was like really like, it was an eye opener, we celebrated with my wife. I looked at her, I said, man, I think I'm gonna be on that podcast. So in other words, I was telling her, I can see the finish line because this method
Yeah.
works, so, but like, so the other, exams, it was really, I tried to just refine and like, one of the things that I realized is like it's really good to go back to the initial videos and watch them again, because sometimes I think you kind of deviate little by little from the study method. So it's good to kind of just hear them again and again so that you can
Yeah.
really refine them and just stick as close to them as you can.
And you're talking about the pro course videos right there,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. The
Right.
pro
Okay.
course videos. Yeah. So from there, I took FAR. That was my retake. That one I was, I really wasn't confident, but like I was so surprised that I passed, man. But I tried to do like what Nate was saying all the time that hey, before you go to bed, read all your flashcards. So I
Mhm.
did that, and I know you guys are were recommending that hey, try to study every day, like because on ISC I was taking off like a day a week. So on FAR I definitely studied every day and was like just looking at those at the notes, reading them, and then listening to the audio notes, mini quizzes, and just trying to do everything I could to kind of clear FAR. So I was so
Yeah.
happy that I passed. But but anyway,
So that was so you had taken FAR
yeah,
and had that terrible experience, and then you did the retake with just a few of the super fast strategies, and you improved a lot, but
yeah,
still didn't quite pass. Then you passed ISC, and then you came back and finally passed FAR. And So what things, just curious, what things were you like partially or not fully implementing with ISC that you maybe did start fully implementing as time went on?
Sure, that's a great question. One of the things that I was not implementing was the questions first approach because I was always just
Okay.
watching the lectures when I did ISC. So after ISC, I started doing the questions first approach. I was just using the notes to kind of just familiarize myself with the topic.
Right.
And I also used because I thought I had failed. So I remember like you gave me I wrote you and you gave me like a video where Nate was talking about like how you structure your retakes. So I say that all to say that I started using that for my actual exams, not the retakes. I was using
Okay.
that so I would write the unit in Excel and then all the topics under that unit for all of the units, right? And then that helped me that when I started the week, I would just write the days that I want to cover all those topics. So that I would do that one, and I would also use like the notes, right, to kind of figure out like how long is this unit, right? If the unit is like 100 pages, that's just gonna be a week. If it's like 160, 180, that's gonna be 2 weeks, So I would kind of like structure it long term, I would, as opposed to like just waking up and then saying, oh, what am I doing today? Like I would try to kind of
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would try to kind of like think about it in a way that's more long term, I guess you would say. But yeah, I definitely use the questions first approach. That was the last missing ingredient, and I continue
Okay.
to use like the audio notes. At the beginning of every week, I would go back to the beginning of the audio notes, regardless of
Okay.
where I was. So I tried to kind of like make sure that when every week starts, I would go back to the beginning so that I can just keep those topics fresh. And I
Okay.
continue to use the mini quizzes. And, like for the days that I forgot, I would try to compensate the next day. If I forgot one day, I'll try to do 10 the next day. So I continue to use
Okay.
that. And remember one thing you guys were saying too, that try to engage as many senses as you can. Of course, do the 2 hour session, then try to read those notes, right? And try to also listen to the notes, because you're engaging different senses. So I try to just mostly keep that in mind, but now I was trying to
Yeah.
use as many like of the SuperfastCPA tools as I could, in a way that's in alignment with like what you
Right.
guys suggested.
And something I want to go back to is how did you split out the days? Like, did you count how many questions that you wanted to do each day, or because I did something similar where I was like, this is how many questions there are in my review course.
Yep.
This is how many I want to get through in a day, so that I kind of had a timeline. So what did that look like in a little bit more detail?
Sure. So what I tried to do is because I kept listening to the podcast, so I would hear you guys reiterate like some of the key things, right? And so I tried to like make sure that I do 30 questions for the new topic. But then to your
Right.
point, I've already said this a couple of times. Like, so when I would do the re-review, like the comprehensive questions in test mode,
Right.
I would try to do like minimum 20. Because remember you were saying don't do less than 20. Make sure if you're gonna do anything less than 30, it's 20. Don't go below that. So I tried to just do like 30 of the new questions, right? And 20 of like just comprehensive prior
Right.
chapters that I've covered. So I tried to do that on a daily basis. So then I would just do that for
Okay.
every new topic. And sometimes and I also had like another column that would tell me how many questions are in the review
Oh, okay.
program
Okay.
for that topic. So if the topic had like 300 questions, then I had to kind of like do that maybe over 2 days as opposed to one day. But that was mostly just
Okay.
preference. But yeah, I tried to just structure it so I can see it like at each week. I can kind of see what I'm doing and kind of review
What's
what I've done
coming
for
up?
the week. Yeah.
Yeah. And so just to kind of dig into that just a little bit more. So you would do about 30 questions a day.
Yep.
What would you do with sections where you almost did all the questions, but you didn't quite, like, did you come back and do the rest of them the next day? Or did you say, I learned what I needed to learn from those 30. I'm going to move on to the next topic?
Oh yeah. No, so I would move on. I remember because I remember
Okay.
you saying that too, like like just do 30 and then you can catch those other questions in like the re-review. So like that's one of the things that I think the podcast really helped. Kind of just hearing it again and again, so like any assumptions that I had in terms of like how I should use Superfast, if it was a wrong assumption, it'll be cleared by just kind of like hearing that from the podcast or like listening to
Mm-hmm.
the pro course videos. But yeah, I
Yeah.
tried to kind of just move on and just go to the next chapter.
Okay. Okay. So And would you do that even for sections where there was like a ton of questions, or would you sometimes go back to it the next day if you could tell there was like 100 questions for that
Okay.
topic? Would you still go back to it for those ones?
Yeah, that's a great point. No, so yeah, to your point, like if it was like 100 plus, I would split it into two. So I would sometimes I would
Okay.
kind of see if like they have sub chapters underneath, and then I would just do maybe like two of the five sub chapters or whatever. Like, but
Okay.
I would do 30 and then 30 in 2 days of the
Okay.
same of the
Okay.
yeah. To your point, if it was a larger a question set, I would split it into 2 days
You'd
as
split it
opposed
up.
to one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And so you passed FAR on the retake, and then how did the other, so you still had reg and audit left at that point, right? So
Yeah.
how did those go?
Oh, so at that point, I was really like honing in like I think like the far pass really gave me the confidence, more confidence in like the approach, right? The study approach. So I just then study for reg. And one of the things I realized early on is like, a lot of times you have to take off your far hat and put on your reg hat, because you're still
Uh-huh.
thinking in far terms, and your
Yeah.
job is like in financial reporting. So those are the terms that I think in. So, but I had to like put on my reg hat, and but I continued using the same question first approach. I think the more I went into other sections, the more I was able to really lean into like the question first approach. And to your point, like you guys definitely like recommend like watching lectures if you don't understand. If you keep getting a certain section wrong, then you go and look at the lectures. But for reg specifically, UWorld has like 5 units, I think. So what I did is like for the first 2 units, no, first 3 units, I just did the question first approach. But when I got to the third unit, I really wasn't. A lot of things were just going over my head. I wasn't really
Mhm.
grasping it well. So what I did for the fourth and the fifth unit is that on those ones, I just watched all the lectures because I think I was traveling at the time, so I had like a lot of time to kind of just watch through.
Mhm.
So on those I watched all the lectures. I think Tim Gary was like teaching it. So it was good because he had a lot of. I think he's also like his specialty stack. So like he was able to give a lot of like information on like
Huh.
even more than what I needed. But I appreciated that because like it brought me back into the material. Like. But then when I went back to the Superfast audio notes, it really cemented a lot of those topics, and all the gaps that were missing, even from the lectures, I was able to fill those in with just continuing to do audio notes and just do audio notes to the point where once I finished like all the units within reg, and I was just comprehensively studying and getting closer to like the final review, it was just like, and listening to the audio notes, like all those like any gaps that I had were just getting filled
Mhm.
in, like over time.
Yeah, that's exactly what we are trying to have happen with people is, at first you start working on an exam and you don't know anything, so you're just kind of building up the pieces. But then by the time you get close to either taking the exam or at least by the time you get to final review, you've done it all so much that it's just filling in the cracks, like you said, and that's why we have all the mini session types is to fill in the cracks in different ways. The mini quizzes to help with your recall, the audio notes to just kind of like be constantly immersing yourself in it, and then the review notes as well. So I really like what you were saying there. So you were struggling with reg a little bit, but watching the lectures kind of helped you stay a bit more immersed in it. And did you pass reg as well?
I did, yeah, I did. I passed with 78.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then if I remember right, did it take a little longer to get the audit results? Like you didn't find out until this year that you passed audit. Is that right? Or just remind me how that went.
Oh, sure. Audit, it took a little longer. Oh, no, it took like about 3 weeks. Because I took it like in February.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it took a few weeks to kind of like get the results. I took it like closer to like the end of the test window, but not at the end.
Okay. So you passed reg, and then did you pass audit as well?
I did, yeah, I did. I
That's
wasn't sure
awesome.
on audit, but I did, yeah.
So it sounds like to me, so you did a little bit of the process for your initial FAR retake and you improved but didn't quite pass. But then from there, once you like started digging into SuperfastCPA CPA and the more and more you applied it, you passed them all 4 for 4 from that
Yeah,
point. Is that right?
I did, yeah. I
That's
did,
awesome.
yeah. Really was, yeah, I did, yeah. Yeah, I think it just was a testament to like how the process was working. Like a side note, I was in one of those Reddit subreddits, and somebody was like, "Oh, this super fast thing doesn't work," and I'm like, "No, it does work," And there were a couple of people that also used it that were saying the same. And the guy was like, "Oh no, notice how everybody who's saying this has like a one because like you put like those like how many you've completed. It's like, oh yeah, look at how everybody who's saying this as a 144, but but no, lo and behold, like you just stick to it, you'll pass. Like it's a really good method. It's a really good
Yeah.
it gives you like a good structure.
Yeah. And I mean, the exams are super difficult. So even with the right strategies, sometimes it takes a couple tries or multiple tries to get through the exams. But, I mean, I love the contrast of, you were struggling in 2013 and then kind of just put it off, tried again in 2020, kind of struggled, kind of put it off. And then in 2025, things really started cooking, and then boom, you pass all 4 in a row. So one thing I like to ask about throughout this journey, what was that like with family and friends? Was there ever a time where the CPA got in the way? And then also, let's start with that. Like before you got Superfast CPA, was it something that was kind of like made it so you didn't have any social life? Was that the kind of thing that happened?
Yeah, it was. I think, yeah, like I definitely like was just studying all the time, like
Yeah.
with the exception of like a Sunday or something, but like yeah, it was definitely one of those things where I was just studying all the time and like telling people like, I can't do anything, studying in the like studying at night, and working in the morning, and before Superfast. And then once I got Superfast, I really was able to like have my nights off, so that was really refreshing. I was able to like on weekends I could go to the movies with my wife, like after like a day of studying and stuff, but like yeah, I definitely had to kind of go through like some conversations and just like set boundaries, right, and just reinforce boundaries in terms of time, like because man, it's just like everyone like wants to invite you to something, and like but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, you never invited me before, but now I'm doing the CPA and you want to invite? No.
Exactly. Inviting you,
Yeah.
or they need a favor from you that's gonna cost you like your Saturday or something.
Of course, yeah. And what did like what kind of things were you able to do? Like what kind of hobbies were you able to maintain, or time with people were you able to maintain because you switched to studying in the morning?
I think it was really great. Like I was able to have my family time, right? Like I was saying, like my wife and I would have the evenings off. Like because they would, especially now that I was studying in the morning, in the evening I was off, and I was also able to like just maintain like going to the gym. For the most part, I cheated off later on, but anyway, that's another story for another day. But like I was able to maintain like a consistent like gym schedule,
Right.
which was really important also, like as you're studying, you want to like stay healthy and like because everything is connected, like but and I was very active at my church, so I was able to still be active, in a lesser capacity, but like because of like how busy the studying is, but like I was still able to really contribute, and also like I was able to like study for far in a busy season, and I think like if it wasn't for Superfast, I don't know how I would have been able to do that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like I remember one of the weekends one of the things that was happening is that we could only use like the system on the weekends up till noon work wise. So I had to wake up like 6 a.m. on one weekend and get as much as I could do work wise by noon, and then from there, from 1 I pivot to my study. So I really am grateful for that approach, like where like it's really, there's a set structure, because it helps. I think, to be honest with you, if I had tried to like study during the busy season, I would have just put the books on the side. Once the pressure really amped up, I would have just put the books to the side, and it would have cost me more time.
Yeah, I think that you just kind of mentioned some things that a lot of people would think would be impossible while studying for the CPA. Like you were still able to go to the gym, you were still able to go to the movies with your wife, you were still able to be active in your church, and all those things together probably sound. Oh, and also you were able to do it during busy season.
Oh yeah.
I think that would sound impossible to a lot of people, kind of studying, and then when they're studying at night and they're like, how the heck could you possibly do that? And well, it's because you had that structure. It's because you were studying in the mornings and doing the extra studying throughout the day. It really does just totally flip. It totally changes the CPA from being something that's a nightmare to it. I mean, it's still hard, but it's way more manageable. Would you agree?
Definitely. I agree 100%. to your point, it's way more manageable. You're doing it in chunks, in smaller chunks, but consistent. You're absolutely right on that. Because I think if you don't have that structure, then the CPA exam just becomes this big monstrous thing that like you're just like, why am I not getting this? I'm putting like months on end like of preparation, and my results aren't coming out, and it just becomes something that you over time start to either resent, or like you just feel like it's something that you can't overcome. But to your point, if you have structure and discipline, and if you do little by little, it gives you the results that you're looking for. It gets you to the finish line, in other words.
Yeah, I love it. And did you do anything with your wife, or with friends or family, to celebrate finishing?
Not yet. We did do
Not
something
yet.
for
Okay.
ISC. We went to like Niagara Falls, because my wife is in school
cool.
in Ithaca, so like it's really close to Niagara Falls. So we went down there, but we're
That's
definitely
pretty cool.
we haven't thought through like what we're gonna do, but we're gonna try to do something big.
And I mean, probably right now you're just enjoying the fact that you don't have to study anymore, right? That probably feels great.
Oh my God, it feels amazing. I remember like when I was doing audit, I started panicking, because I was like, man, what am I gonna do with myself when I finish this? Because you can see the finish line.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, it's only been a few weeks really, but have you thought of anything like has it changed the way you structure your day, or have you kind of gone back to how you were doing things before? Do you wake up early in the morning still, or are you kind of like a night owl again?
I'm a night owl again, but I'm gonna try as best as I can to kind of go back to waking up in the morning.
Oh, I mean, it's whatever you want, but sometimes I see people, they're like, oh, now I'm a morning person, but
Yeah.
that no worries at all.
Yeah, no, because I want to squeeze the gym in the morning instead, so I
Right,
definitely
right.
want to like tighten up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I just realized, this will probably be one of the last questions that I ask, but something that I wanted to ask about before was, you would go to the movies with your wife on the weekend or things like that. But that made me think of the weekends. What did studying look like for you on the weekends? Did you study sims? What did that all look like?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So initially, I was just when I started, I was just like doing both. Well, no, I was mostly doing MCQs, heavy on the MCQs, and then I would like start doing sims like towards like the review, final review. But as I progressed and as I just kept listening, I heard you say, hey, like you should like really just focus on doing like MCQs midweek, in the weekdays, and then task based on the weekend. So I did that from the third retake from far that I passed. And it really helped me, man, because like I was now getting really like anxious about the TBSs, because that's how like I literally failed far because of one TBS. It's been discontinued, and I saw it online. I showed my wife. It had like 8 exhibits, but anyway, I digress. So essentially, like it kind of gave me like an anxiety over like TBSs. So I was happy that I heard you say that when I was doing the far retake, and that really helped me to pass, because what I would do in the middle of the week is I would just do like MCQs. So I would try to get like 200 MCQs done. And then on the weekends, I would just pivot. I would now just be doing like TBSs. And I would try to time myself also over time, like just try to give myself like 15 to 18 minutes per TBS. So that really helped, because it gave me a good comfort level. So whatever unit that I covered for that week, those are the TBSs that I will do. And then, of course, when I do final review, I'm going to do like comprehensive like TBSs. But like I would just kind of do it like where whatever topics I'm covering on the MCQs, those are in the weekdays, those are the topics that I'm going to cover for task based on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday.
And when you were studying the simulations on the weekends, what was I mean, you said you were kind of timing yourself eventually, which that makes sense because you're kind of trying to get used to about how much time you have on exam day. But when you were doing the sims, were you like, what was your approach there? Were you trying to do them fully and then you would submit them, or would you just submit it if you had no idea what you were doing? I'm just curious how you did those.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would try to do them, but like to what you guys were saying, like if I really didn't know it, I wouldn't even waste any time. I would just look at the answer and like I would look at like the skill builder videos, because I had access to Becker. My main review was UO, but I had access to Becker as well. So
cool.
The only thing is that UO didn't have like many videos at that point. So I would like lean on the Becker side of things when I was doing task based, so I could see the skill builder.
And just curious, because I know a lot of people have Becker. What did you like about the skill builder videos? Like, why were they helpful?
Oh man, like they were really helpful. Like one of the things I liked was not just they answered the question, but they also helped on strategy. They would help like, hey, like instead of just thinking through in this way, you want to think through in this way. So it also helped
Okay.
me to change how I would answer certain questions, which helped me to like answer them as quickly as I could. So it bought me a lot of time
Right.
on the exam. And yeah, and I think like they also kind of touched a little bit about like what the writers of the exam are trying to do with the task base. That
Hmm.
when they give you all those exhibits, they're trying to overwhelm you. So you have to really just be very systematic in terms of how you look at it.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like those strategies, as in addition to the answers of like what is the answer, that helped as well.
Yeah, and that I would agree with that. That a big part of practicing the sims and preparing for the sims on exam day is being able to be like immersed in a sim and not panic.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
you see all these exhibits and like, oh no. But if you've practiced sims and if you've like gotten used to how they're structured, you can just take it one step at a time. You're not worried. You know what they're asking you to do. You may not know necessarily everything about the specific sim, but you know how to approach the sim. Is that how
Definitely.
you did you feel like that?
I did feel that way, and I think it helped in the sense to your point that you may not know the whole sim, but you will know enough to pick up some points from that sim, or as
Yep.
many points as
Mhm.
you can in like the 18 minutes or whatever time you have to do that sim. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you don't panic as much as to your point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually a big part of why I liked Superfast CPA is that I felt like it really prepared me, when I was doing the exams. I felt like when I went into the exam, I had already done this a ton of times because I had been doing re-review every day. I'd practiced the sims, I had seen it all before. Maybe not the exact questions, but
Yeah.
I had done the process.
Yeah.
And that helps you be comfortable and not panic. So I think that we've pretty much covered most of the stuff that I typically like to cover. Now, as we're kind of finishing up the last few questions, the one question I like to ask lately is there anything that about your process or about your story that we haven't gotten to talk about yet, but you remember, maybe something in your notes that we haven't gotten to talk about yet that you wanted to share?
That's a good point. Let me check. I did put like a few things down, but let me see. Oh yeah, I was gonna say like not much. But I was gonna say definitely like I think you talked about this at one point, but like it's important to really like if you're doing Sims, it's important to like use like Excel, right? Like that Excel like
Hmm.
that they have in the TBS section, especially with far and reg, because it just helps you to be faster and you're gonna be more accurate,
Hmm. Yeah.
and another thing I was gonna say was like a lot of these like Becker and the UO, they have like now AI assistants, right? Like Newt for
Right.
Becker, right? Like those are really great to use, especially for like really difficult like concepts. I used it personally, so I was using that in addition with Brainscape. So like if I had like a
Right.
really hard concept, I'll just like you get the definition and then I'll throw all those definitions in Brainscape and look at them all the time, and just get used to them.
So you liked using the AI to kind of like understand something if you weren't getting it at first. Is that right?
Yes, definitely, definitely. And if it's something that if I'm not getting it first, or if it's something that I just am consistently failing in, and I just can't understand, like, so I definitely would
Yeah.
use that. And I like those like Newt and like as opposed to like Chat GPT, because I felt like Chat GPT
Hmm.
wasn't always accurate. Like sometimes it would be a little
Hmm.
off, so
Yeah.
I prefer
Yeah.
that.
I mean, Newt is built specifically for the CPA exam,
Exactly,
so that
exactly.
makes sense. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And UArt has one now. They call it Ask Bot, but it essentially does the same thing that Newt does. But yeah, to your point, it's more tailor-made.
Cool.
And yeah, I was just gonna say, don't underestimate like the power of auditory learning. We talked about it. I think about the audio notes. And yeah, I would say definitely like just make sure you go back to those initial
The
that's in the
pro
pro course, right?
course.
Like
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
I think it's good to go back to that from time to time so that you can just hear that again. Whether it's like you're listening to like the 2 hour review part or you're listening to how to make flashcards or TBSs, like it's really good to just hear those because those are all critical elements of like just preparing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really glad you brought that up because I'm pretty sure that Nate does mention that in the pro course, like come back and watch these every so often to like keep yourself fresh. And I would bet that a lot of people don't, but it's super useful to be reminded, oh yeah, I'm skipping this part, or oh, maybe I could be doing this part a little more effectively. So I really like that you mentioned that. Like, go back to the pro course videos every so often to make sure you're on the right track.
Yeah, and even to piggyback off of you, the point that you just made there, I was skipping a really important part, and it was that part where you take off in the evening, So, like, because I was just now burning on both ends, like, because
Mm.
I think one of my exams I was so close, like, to the exam date, so I had to kind of like study in the morning and at night. But when I started the new section, I just carried that bad habit into the new section until I heard it,
Okay.
until I heard again, like, hey, if you do in the morning, don't do anything at night. So that
Yeah.
really helped, because you start to burn out if you don't do that.
Yep. And I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Like maybe if you're really close to an exam, like you said, and you're like, I want to prepare a little bit more, then yeah, study in the evening. But the hope is that most of the time, if you're studying in the morning and then you're doing your mini sessions throughout the day, you've done pretty much all your studying by the time you get off work.
Yeah.
And then you can feel like a normal person. You can still have some time with your family or go do something with your friends or just watch TV, and I think that helps you stay a lot more sane. It helps you stay a lot more motivated,
Definitely.
So I like that I'm glad that you brought that up.
Definitely, yeah. In a way, I suppose you're recharging your batteries,
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, you've had some fantastic tips and I really liked listening to your story. I love that you went 4 for 4. It's always really exciting to like see the changes that people make and then boom, they pass all 4 of them. I mean, I just love that. So as we're wrapping up here, this is the question I always like to ask everybody at the very end of the podcast, even if it's something we've already talked about. What would be your top 2 or 3 tips to people who are still going through the exams?
Sure. Oh yeah, that's a good point. So my top tips would be, let me see. Yeah, I would definitely say like one of the things I think like yeah, as best as you can, don't use like simulated exams. At least for me, it didn't help. I think the supervised method of final review is really important, where you just do like 2 sets of 30 MCQs, right? And 5 to 7 TBSs. Like that's really important because you're attacking all the topics, and tied to that is like don't cherry pick your weak areas, when you're doing final review.
Yeah.
I remember like you guys just mentioning, hey, if you want to hone in on your weak areas, then make sure that you do those sets, you do the comprehensive sets first, and then you can kind of do like, you can then focus on your weak areas, but you don't want to like focus on 2 or 3 topics when FAR has like more than 200 topics.
And then leave everything else to the side. Yeah,
exactly at the expense of everything else. You don't want to do that. And I would definitely say like, it's good to stay motivated, so if you find something that's motivational, definitely listen to it. One of the things that I found motivational was like that book, Atomic Habits. I just had one chapter,
yeah,
and I kept repeating that one chapter, because it really motivated me. But yeah, like it could be anything. It could be a motivational speaker, a pastor, or something, or sermon, or something that motivates you. Like definitely like keep listening to that. I think like that's just like one of the things that like about this journey. It's like it's a journey where like you have valleys and peaks. So sometimes you just feel really demotivated. I felt that way a lot so far, but so it's good to find like those messages that encourage you, whatever the source may be, but like, if you find things that encourage you, and you don't have to find many things. If it's just one message, you just keep repeating. Like for me, I just had one sermon that I kept repeating, but anyway, but yeah, I think that's really important. The podcast I think is really good. And like, finding like community. I think there's like you guys have a forum, right? Superfast is a forum.
Yep.
I know like there's a subreddit for the CPAs. There's like 65,000 people, I think. So just finding communities is also good. That would be my last point. Yeah, just find like a community.
Yeah, those are all really great points. And like I said, you've said a lot of really helpful things throughout this. I'm excited to eventually get this out there because I think a lot of people are going to really benefit. So thank you for being on the call with me today, Elias. Thank you for sharing all that, and congrats on being done. Are you fully done? Are you licensed yet or not quite?
No, not quite. I'm working with my boss now. He's a CPA as well, so I'm working with him.
Okay, so you still have to get like the hours and stuff like that. Or something like that.
I have the hours, but he's doing his part to kind of just like sign off. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, again, congrats on being done, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Oh, thank you so much, Logan. Thank you for having me, by the way.
Yeah, of course. All right, that was the episode with Elias. Again, I thought it was a great one, just like all of the episodes on this podcast. And I really liked the contrast that he pointed out with studying in the evening compared to studying in the morning. He went from studying from 6 to 9 and going to sleep at 1 in the morning and, falling asleep while he was studying and not really getting much out of it, to studying in the mornings, questions first, and really starting to see a difference in his understanding and his retention. And obviously, he passed the exams by doing that, so it worked. I'm sure you liked this episode with Elias. If you liked it, make sure to like it and leave a comment in the YouTube video or leave a rating in your favorite podcast app. And before you go, make sure you also check out becoming a SuperfastCPA member by either buying the pro course or buying our study materials, or of course buying the total bundle, where you'll get access to all of our materials and of course the pro course as well. And the easiest way to learn about that and become a member is by going to SuperfastCPA.com and signing up for our free 1-hour webinar training. In that 1 hour, we will teach you the key ingredients to passing the CPA exam so you don't waste months or even years of your time failing exams, and that will give you a good path to, again, learning about the pro bundle or the studies bundle or the total bundle. So make sure you check that out. Again, I hope you liked this podcast, and I will see you in the next episode.